Turning 40 years old. What happens when you turn 40 years old? Hello, you all. I'm Dianna-Brianne, and please subscribe to my page. You might be saying, well, you may be older than 40 years old. Yes, I'm older than 50 years old, and I'm actually a little bit older than 60. I'm actually going to be 62 years old. Yes, 62 years old. I'm a senior citizen. And I was looking back today and thinking about my 40s and my 50s and my now 60s. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll share a little bit of my journey in the 40s and what it was like. You know, I didn't get married to my husband until I was in my 30s. And we traveled Europe, we traveled all over. We had an amazing time. But we wanted to start a family. And so that family began in right around 40 for me. And so I had babies, small children, toddlers, growing up during my 40s, whereas a lot of people are pushing them out of high school at that point. So my life was kind of lived a little bit out of sequence, all in a good way. And so I was raising children in my 40s. And I've always been a bit of a fitness person. And I'm very much into health and fitness, eating right, taking care of me. So in my 40s, I felt like I was in my 20s. And so I was able to keep up with my kids. I think if you take care of you and you take care of yourself, you may very well be able to sustain much of the energy that you had, if not all of the energy you had in your 20s and 30s. And so turning 40, I remember it wasn't a big number to me. Now, turning 30 was a big number. Turning 50 was not that big of a deal. Turning 60 was a big deal. And actually, turning 62, which I will be soon, really seems like a huge number. But turning 40, it was no big deal. It really wasn't. And I remember a lot of friends gave me a birthday party. I've actually had a couple birthday parties, but I actually celebrated my birthday in a castle. My husband surprised me. And so my life was very busy in the 40s and raising children. My 40s were fabulous. So anyone that tells you that life is over past the age of 40, I don't know if they know what they're talking about, because life was really revving up for me in my 40s. I mean, it was a very, very exciting time. And I can tell you later, the 50s were fabulous. I had a few bumps in the road. I think in any decade, you may very well have a few bumps in the road. I mean, it can happen. You know, you hear about the mid-age crisis, and usually I've done videos on that and on menopause and all that. And I think a lot of people think of menopause hitting in the 40s, and sometimes it does. And mid-age crisis is hitting in the 40s, and sometimes it does. I think women, and this is only my opinion, it's not it's just my opinion, but I think women tend to focus more on menopause, and men tend to focus more on mid-age crisis, or the mid-age crisis. A lot of men will look back and they'll say, wow, where's my life gone, and they reassess things at that point. And sometimes they reassess it wrong. Sometimes they reassess it right, but sometimes they reassess it wrong. And I think mid-age crisis is sometimes the less changes that we make during that time can be the better, because sometimes the changes that people make during what they call the mid-age crisis are not the right changes, and they later look back and regret those. It just depends, it just depends. But I think for women, a lot of women, when they hit 40, they don't know which way to go. Do I try to turn back the clock, or do I just accept the age? And I think there's a battle for some women at the age of 40. I wasn't battling that. I just was so busy raising kids that I didn't have time to battle, being 40, or was I getting older, or whatever. Now, towards the end of my 40s, my mother came to live with me because she was getting elderly and frail and sick. So there were issues that I was dealing with. I did see a few friends and a few relatives drop off, unfortunately, during my 40s. I mean, that can happen at any stage of life. But I think that for my husband and I, we had an amazing relationship. For me, I, really, really enjoyed my 40s. And I think a lot of life in every decade, we're going to deal with issues, but we're also going to get new blessings at every decade. And I think it's an attitude. I think if you think your 40s are going to be awful, they may very well be. But I think if you think that you're going to give your very, very best to your 40s, I think you may end up having fabulous 40s, fabulous 50s, fabulous 60s, and beyond. A lot of it is in attitude and in how we handle life situations and how we look at life. So I hope you look at life from a very positive viewpoint, and I hope you subscribe to my YouTube page here, because I not only talk about life strategies or life issues after the age of 60, but I talk about life in general, and it's common sense wisdom from a common sense mom. Well, I hope you have a great day, and from my house to yours, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.